Well, hello there. Today we're going to talk about itemization on Yorick. And first, I want to run you through a, a main kind of itemization path that I go through, and then thought process on when I start to create variations, depending on who we're against, of course. So, in general, I like to run this main page. If you've watched some of my videos for a while, you'll know that I've been running this setup. And the reason why I think it's so powerful is because of its synergy with Yorick's kit. So first, let's talk about Black Cleaver. Now, I used to rush Shojin first. And Shojin is great. It has a lot of good stats. It has a lot of good going for it. And I don't think you'll be wrong if you're able to rush Shojin. What I like about the Cleaver rush these days is because it has decent attack damage and health, which your ghouls and maidens scale off of. You get ability haste, which for me, the way I play Yorick is I'm a bruiser mage, so that means I depend upon my spells to be able to do the amount of work that I can do with ghouls and maiden. So the ability haste is solid for what I'm getting in terms of cost. And then the armor reduction, which stacks 5 times. Let's see, 5 times 6. Let's say that in the most ideal scenario, in a team fight where people are getting hit, and then it's just ghouls are just attacking everywhere. Maiden is free attacking, and so are you. You get 5 times 6. That's 30% armor reduction on top of Yorick's E, which already does armor reduction. So any tanky champs will definitely, or any champs that build resistances will feel less impact with the resistances. But in general, even here's what I've found: even those that don't really build a lot of resistances, you can still benefit from armor penetration, armor shred from Black Cleaver and Yorick's E, because as levels progress, we stack on. Every champion naturally gains a bit of armor, less magic resist, more armor early in the first few levels. So there's still some value there. Although I understand the idea that if you're fighting against tanks is when you should build Black Cleaver first. That makes sense to me. I still like going the Black Cleaver route, no matter who I'm fighting against these days. Well, in the past few videos, it's because of the additional flat bonus movement speed. Now, I've mentioned this a few times, and I'll say it again here. Ghouls scale off flat bonus movement speed. That means, and this is why Bandlepipes Zos are here, the Phage, the Fervor unique passive is whenever you deal damage, you gain 20 flat movement speed. And if you deal damage, when you slow with using your XE, you activate Bandlepipes too, which gives you an additional 20 movement speed. So that's plus 40 movement speed when you're dealing damage and landing your E. So that's solid. It helps. That synergizes with you so well because as a poke and space player, I'm able to move in and out of team fights, keep dodging skill shots, make opponents force their flash or dash onto me. They use it onto me. And during a team fight, that means the rest of my team can capitalize if they don't have a dash anymore, or they burn their flash just to kill me or something. But also, it makes landing skill shots a lot harder for the enemy team. So the more they are to miss, any ability has about, let's say when you're level 9 or level 10 mid-game, abilities usually have around 4 to 8 seconds cooldown, and not counting the ultimates, of course. And if you dodge those, often team fights happen within those 4 to 8 seconds. And if they don't have an ability, that's less damage already from them. So if you can dodge, it's a good idea. Plus, your ghouls will gain the benefit of the bonus movement speed. That means when you land your E, the ghouls will be able to not only pounce, because they will pounce on the first instance, but they will keep, unless the ghouls are focused on, they won't die. So that means they'll keep auto attacking, but they can only land auto attacks They can only land auto attacks if they have the movement speed to be able to catch up to that champion. So this is also helpful when fighting against champs that have a lot of dashes, like Silas or Ambessa, Kane, champs who have a lot of mobility already built into them. Keep that in mind. So already there's a lot of advantages to Black Cleaver. I think these days you should build it first, even though you're not fighting against a tank. It just provides so much value, not only for you but for your ghouls too. Okay, so that's Black Cleaver. Next is I complete any kind of boots. Now, what kind of boots I build is dependent upon who I'm fighting with. If they're a triple AD, it's no question that steel caps will give you the most value, because it gives you 25 armor, movement speed, and reduces damage from attacks by 10%. And the reason why I rush boots second, whatever pair of boots you go with, I rush boots second is because as we mentioned, flat movement speed is what the ghouls benefit from the most. And your ghouls are pretty much your basic damage dealers. It's good to have Maiden, but when she dies, Maiden has such a long cooldown that most of the time you'll be with ghouls rather than with Maiden. So completing your boots second is not a bad idea because you benefit from it. You're able to dodge. You don't have dashes as Yorick. You're able to dance around the team fights a little more. Plus, it gives the added benefit of stacking the 45 movement speed here with the 20 bonus movement speed from Black Cleaver. So already your ghouls are very fast. They'll be able to land upon your target once you E, and then stick to your target until they're killed off. So Black Cleaver into boots. Those seem to be solid. I don't see it changing anytime soon. Next is a third purchase that I've often gone to is Shojin. Now, Shojin is still a powerful item. Whether you get it first or second, it depends on your personal preference or the way you play. I like to take it second after. Oh, sorry, that's third now. But in terms of legendaries, it's the second item. I like to take Shojin as a second legendary item because look at the stats: 45 AD, 450 health. Now we've already determined that your ghouls and maiden benefit from bonus attack damage and bonus health. So awesome, we're already at a win here. That's already a net positive. It gives you 25 basic ability haste, which means your Q, W, and E can be more spammable. That's good news for me as a bruiser mage caster. And then here is the cherry on top. Dealing damage with abilities, its unique passive. Dealing damage with abilities increases your champion's ability and passive damage by 3% for 6 seconds and stacks 4 times. 3 times 4 is 12% additional ability and passive damage. You know what that means? Your ghouls, while they're auto-attacking, which because you have Black Cleaver, they're able to stick onto your target. So you E, depending on the number of ghouls you have, they land, which already is a stack. And the more they auto-attack, the more it stacks your Shojin, so that at any point in the team fight, unless your ghouls or maiden is dead, you will always have the bonus movement speed from Black Cleaver and the bonus 12% damage increase from Shojin. 12%. And it's always stacked. So in terms of damage, it's definitely going to do you some good. By the way, something I learned about Shojin, I think last month, was that Shojin's passive can augment true damage. So potentially that means if you guys have Elder, you guys have Elder, or you're attacking turrets too, it amplifies that damage. So Shojin is not just a team fighting. Shojin is not just a team fighting item. There's some added benefits to it too. Okay, awesome. So after that, those are the 2 main damage items. The rest of the items are very situational. And I'm going to run you through one of my, this is my favorite, but let's run through some different scenarios. For the first 3 items, these are solid. Gives you a balance of damage, health, and utility across these 3 different items. When do I go Swifties? If they have too much variation in terms of damage, they have both AP and AD scaling, it's going to be tough to itemize versus one or the other. If they have a lot of crowd control, it's just Merc Treads. 30% tenacity is awesome for just one item, so Merc Tread. But let's say they have AP, but they don't have a lot of crowd control, and they still have a lot of good AD casters, the critical strikes of the Jinxes of the world, the Veins of the world. If they still have that, I'll just go swiftness, because if I itemize for one, I'm going to lose the benefit from the other. So I just go with swiftness so that I'm able to dodge more, prevent their skill shots from landing onto me more. Of course, that comes with every time you choose a particular pair of boots, you're going to lose the benefits of the other one. So feel free to experiment. Depending on your playstyle, see how you want to run with it. Okay, so that's really those 3 pairs of boots. Is there a case for lucidity boots? There is. When I was playing mid Yorick, I would prefer lucidity boots because I am the caster. I am a bruiser caster. But this is also when I was going lethality Yorick, not really bruiser Yorick. These days I'm running more of a bruiser build. And the 10 summoner spell haste, along with in the inspiration tree. Sorry, is that the inspiration tree? Yeah, I think so. In the inspiration tree, some people like going, let's see, if you go cashback or biscuits, and then you go cosmic insight, which already gives you 18 summoner spell haste, in combination with lucidity boots, you have 28 spell haste, summoner spell haste, plus the additional ability haste too. So I don't think it's a wrong choice. It just depends on your playstyle. So feel free to experiment there. Bandle pipes. Why do I like bandle pipes? First, it's really cheap. It gives you resistances, because what is health without resistances? Even though you have tons of health, but you don't have magic resist or armor to back it up, you're still going to get chunked. It's much better if you balance health, an increase in health, with an increase in resistances. And bandle pipes is one of the cheapest ways to get ability haste, health, armor, and magic resist. It's just one of those things. The real reason, though, why I build bandle pipes is because when you E a champion, you get 20 bonus movement speed. Now, because we've already talked about Black Cleaver, once you land your E, you are effectively with plus 40 bonus movement speed as Yorick. And that flat bonus movement speed also translates to your ghouls, so they're able to stick. It's going to be hard to dodge those ghouls. You really have to kill them, otherwise they're going to keep attacking and sticking onto you. So there's just the extra benefit, of course, of whenever you E a champion and then it's a team fight, nearby allies gain attack speed, and so do you. To me, that's the cherry on top. It's not really what I'm looking for, but I'm sure your mark, if you have a Kindred jungle, a Vayne top or Varus top, or even your ADC in general, they will benefit from that. You'll feel the difference once they're team fighting. Okay, bandle pipes. Sundered Sky. I go for this item when I feel like I want more survivability, and that's why it's kind of at the end, because at the end is where there's a lot more team fighting. I play Swiftplay mainly, so that means the late game comes sooner compared to usual. So that means Kayle at level 18, you'll face them much more often. All of the hyper carries like Tristana, Jinx. Once they get to level 18 full build, you might you might appreciate some of the extra survivability. So I like Under Sky because it does have a unique passive where every 10 seconds, if you auto, you don't even have to use abilities. You auto attack a champion, you critically strike on that hit, and then it restores health. So that means during a team fight, you could, and remember, Yorick's Q already restores percentage missing health. So you could auto at one champion, the support, then Q the AD carry. Then if the jungler is also close, you can auto attack them too. You are essentially proccing Sunder Sky 3 times in succession. And by the time the 10 seconds are up, the team fight is probably over. And in the most ideal scenario to get the most value out of Light Shield Strike is you're able to auto attack all 5 champions. That's not going to be the case. You'll probably be able to, at best, apply it to 3, depending on the way the team fight goes. So there's a lot of survivability in this one. It already gives you attack damage, bonus health, ability haste, which is all of the things that my Yorick playstyle needs. But the additional critical strike and health restoration for every 10 seconds per champion is already pretty good. It's insane value. Last item. It's a toss-up between Sterak's Gauge and Sterak's Gauge Jack Show. Do I have Jack Show here? I'm going to add it. It's a toss-up between Jack Show, Sterak's Gauge, and Protoplasm Harness. What I like about Harness is that when you're low, both Sterak's and Protoplasm share a lifeline passive. But what I like about Protoplasm's lifeline is that when you're below 30%, you gain a percentage of maximum health, you start healing, and while you regenerate, you have increased movement speed and additional tenacity. Let's look at Sterak's. Sterak's is just when you take damage below 30%, you get a shield for 4.5 seconds. Now, the tenacity with Sterak's is already built in, so that's already useful. And you gain bonus attack damage for based on your health. So it's not a bad purchase, but this one is cheaper. It's really accessible. And just the extra health regeneration is going to be useful. If I can afford it, I just go directly to Sterak's because the additional tenacity is going to help anyway. But when team fighting is kind of very active, we are mid to late game, and I release Maiden top lane so that she can push, and I want to join my teammates for a dragon fight or something. I would rather just go with Protoplasm because I already have the value now rather than save for Sterak's later. But it depends. It depends. Jack Show is also a good item because, as we mentioned, health and resistances is the good pairing, not just health. The challenge, of course, with building Sterak's or Protoplasm is that they're just bonus health. They don't give you resistances. So if you need resistances, which what I like about Jack Show is during combat, you increase armor and magic resist by 30% until the end of combat. And because you have ghouls and Maiden, often always fighting, always hitting a champion here and there, even when you're slightly pulling away from the team fight, you always have that active. That means during extended team fights, you always have extra bonus armor and magic resist on top of the armor and magic resist that Jack Show already provides. That's a lot. That's a lot. And in no small part, we have to thank the ghouls and Maiden for being able to practice so often. So a lot of options here. Here are some variations. If I'm fighting against a really good regen or life stealing champion, for example, if I'm fighting a top lane Silas or top lane Aatrox, or I'm fighting Garen top lane and they have a Silas jungle, so that means if I buy Executioner's Calling early. It'll benefit. It'll increase my chances fighting against Garen, but it'll also increase my chances when Sylas comes to gank. And late game, some healing reduction will be helpful to keep Sylas down. So I build Kempang Chainsword. Sometimes what I do is, because in Swiftplay we started 1400 gold at level 1, Executioner's Calling is 800. So I go with Culling and then a refillable pot. Let's see. Wait. Does the math add up? Executioner's Calling is 800. A longsword is 350 plus, so that's 1150 already. Plus a refillable pot, that's 1300. Awesome, that combination. Executioner's Calling, refillable pot, and then a longsword. There's some damage, survivability, and the Grievous Wounds passive that helps us prevent Aatrox from snowballing. And the problem when you're fighting against champions that have a lot of lifesteal, Briar, Aatrox, Sylas, all of these champions, if you trade with them, you don't prevent them from healing up. They will just outlive you. And that kind of nullifies your damage. Remember, you as Yorick, you are a mana based champion. So if they regen their health more than you can poke them down, you'll run out of mana before they run out of health. And that will push you out of lane if you're out of mana. You can't have that. So having some healing reduction early will allow, especially when fighting against Aatrox and Garen who don't have mana issues. So it's going to be helpful that you prevent them from healing early. Okay. Liandry's. I like going Liandry's when I'm fighting against tanks. I mean, really tanky boys. Ornn, Mundo, just to name a few. Galio, who builds not AP but a lot of health and resistances. Liandry's is pretty good. Or if I feel like our mid is Zed, which is AD, and then we have a Shen jungle, that means we don't really have a lot of AP sources when it comes to damage. Maybe we have an AP support, but still, having some magic damage variation just reduces the itemization options that the opponents can think about. Maiden deals magic damage by default, and she scales off your bonus damage. But adding Liandry's can be procced by ghouls and Maiden. So while ghouls are auto-attacking, they're applying the burn damage. So it's going to have its benefit if you're fighting against. The main reason why you build this against tanks, and or if you want magic damage, is because the auto attacks from Ghoul apply burn, Maiden deals burn, and every second it'll deal 2% max health damage as magic damage. And if you pair this with Shojin, it has a passive where for every second you're in combat with enemy champions, you deal 2% bonus damage up to 6%. So remember, with Shojin, you have, if it's fully stacked, 12% bonus damage from abilities and passives, plus the 6% from Liandry's. So that means your burn will burn a lot harder, and auto attacks from ghouls will hit a lot harder. So there's a lot of variation to be had here. Some minor things. Randuin's for if you're fighting against a top lane Yi who builds critical strike, and then they have a kindred jungle, or if you just have more reason to avoid critical strikes, Yasuo, Yone, those things. Randuin's is not a bad idea. And then Death's Dance is also worth a consideration. It doesn't give you health, but it gives you offensive. There's an offensive nature to it, but also a balance of defensive nature. Because by default, once you complete Death's Dance, all damage dealt to you is reduced by 30%, I think. That's how I think about it. It's a damage reduction of 30%, because the rest of that damage will be dealt over several seconds. which means as Yorick, you have an opportunity to survive some damage, bonk them with Q, restore your missing health, and then allow your ghouls and maiden to be able to do their work before the 3 seconds are up. That's still going to be useful. You could use the attack damage if you're fighting against mostly AD. The armor's good, and there's ability haste. Titanic Hydra. This one is for pushing when you feel like you really need the pushing power, but because it's so expensive, I don't find myself building this often. Not these days. Spirit Visage. If you build Sundered and your Q already heals you, Spirit Visage has a passive where heals and shields are increased by 25%. So that means the healing critical strike from Sundered and your Q as Yorick. That's a lot of, and it comes with health and magic resist too. So that's a lot of benefit if you're fighting against AP casters. Fighting against burn champions like Teemo, Cassiopeia, and damage over time champs like Victor when they have their ult. It's not a bad purchase to get Force of Nature, because the more you take magic damage from burn, you get an increase in movement speed. So you already have 4% movement speed built into Force of Nature, plus the 6%. And if you have Bundle Pipes and Cleaver, you're a very mobile Yorick, even though you don't have dashes, and it'll be harder for them to land their skill shots. So in general, that's my thought process. Not very complicated. It just depends on who you're fighting, of course, who is ahead, and what you think about for mid to late game, the state of the game in general, how well are your carries doing, how well are you doing, is their jungler fed, things of that nature. So hopefully this gives you a rundown of the tools you have for the situation, but also thinking about how it synergizes well with Yorick's kit.